broker a multi-billion-dollar deal with a Chinese company and a lucrative mine. According to the New York Times, the president's son was part owner of a venture involved in the $3.8 billion purchase of a Chinese conglomerate of one of the world's largest cobalt deposits. How do we miss that story? Here with reaction, former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. Doug, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you?
Okay, so I'm doing okay, but I'm scratching my head. Here's another big deal that apparently happened when Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, and we've never heard about it.
Never heard at all about it, except last year we began reporting. Many of us had talked about Hunter Biden's deals, not only in Ukraine, but China, everywhere else. And it's now amazing that after the infrastructure bill is passing, Build Back Better is passing, now all of a sudden this issue on electric cars and a cobalt mine that Hunter Biden just happened to be entangled with the Chinese. You know something, Steve, I'm beginning to wonder. Hunter is an artist. He seems to be a business person. Maybe he'll become an author next and say, how to take advantage of nepotism. I'm not sure, but this is just ridiculous that we're not hearing about it.
Well, why do you think the New York Times finally did this story now?
It's a good question. I mean, maybe they're feeling bad that they didn't talk about it before, or maybe they're just pointing it out. Again, sometimes the New York Times baffles me with what they report and what they don't report. But at the same point in time, they still didn't go to the deeper issue. Is how much intertwining did not only Hunter Biden have with China, but his father? We've already shown connections there that they talked about it, that we've seen this. Why are they not connecting it more from Hunter and the president himself?
Well, I think we've got our answer. Out on the stump when he was running for president, Peter Doocy asked Joe Biden, who was running for president, have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings? And he said, I've never spoken to my son, although that's kind of hard to believe.
Well, it's also been shown not to be true as well. I mean, there's been links to emails. There's been links to, pictures that have surfaced where he said he never met with folks. And now we see those links. Again, it's just, with as much issues as Hunter Biden's had and the interconnection with his father over these years, no one from his background gets to where he is without his father.
Well, we should point out we reached out to Hunter's lawyer for comment, have not heard back. I mean, you were talking a moment ago about authors. You got a brand new book. It's called The Clock and the Calendar. Explain what it's about.
It's a first-hand account. I wanted to give people what it was like to be in those rooms, going through the Russia investigation, the Russia hoax, all the way into Jerry Nadler convening what would become the year of the impeachment investigation of Donald Trump. And I wanted the people to have a little bit different opinion. I wanted them to see it as I saw it through those hearings with Matt Whitaker, with the Mueller investigation, and then the Adam Schiff, the Schiff show and everything else. I wanted them to get a behind-the-scenes look. And that's why I wrote it, so that people could be brought in to see this delusion that the Democrats had with Trump, but see it from a different perspective.
And the interesting thing, Doug, the subtitle of your book is A Front Row Look at the Democrats' Obsession with Donald Trump. He has not been president for coming up on a year, but they're still obsessed with him.
Every time they talk about it. I'm surprised there's some writers at some of the major papers, Post and New York Times and others, they wake up every day not knowing what to do, so they have to invent things to write about Donald Trump because they were so obsessed with him, and that's all they did. And the book talks about that. And it really plays into the Congress now, where you see Nancy Pelosi breaking rules and moving forward on things. That's where they started. It was in 2019 and 2020 when we had these, breaking the rules of the House to get to an impeachment that should have never happened against Donald Trump simply because they didn't like the fact that he was president.
He's got a brand new book. It's called The Clock and the Calendar. Doug Collins, sir, thank you very much for joining us.